welcome to In-Laws and Crime. I'm Ashley.
I am Megan. This is In-Laws and Crime on a dreary, dreary day.
Yeah.
Once again.
I know.
On the way here, we're at Ashley's house, by the way. On the way here, I was just like, golly, the month of April really likes to put Texas in a loop.
Yeah.
Of
1
second it's sunny, next second it's hailing.
True. And the temperatures have been up and down.
Yes.
Like crazy.
Yes.
So
our poor outside animals are like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, guys. I don't think we have any files.
No crime files.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a farm file, my hummingbird is back for the season.
That's precious. That is precious.
I do love watching them.
I know.
And it's rare that I catch them, so to see them.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Okay. Well, and then I think we were going to update everybody. Oh, and we are at Ashley's house if you can hear Apache in the background. The old man in the background. I think we were just going to touch on still praying for the family of our little girl that passed away at Allendale ISD. They're still in our thoughts and our prayers. There is a GoFundMe for them, and maybe I can link that in like our little notes area on our description. So if you feel the need to give, they do have a GoFundMe set up for her or for the family and stuff. But yeah, it's just turned into, Lindale is a small, big town, and it is. The gossip is absolutely infuriating. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're not the family of her or the people that were there, I just feel like you don't have a say and you just need to keep your mouth shut. So, that's how I feel. Soapbox done. Okay, moving on.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate because there's a lot of people that are speculating what happened or throwing out things that I heard this or I heard that. And
why just don't say that?
You just don't know. And yeah, and people have really come for each other in this small community, and it's sad to see.
So sad.
I mean, it's sad enough that we, a family lost a child, the community lost a student,
right.
But it's just, let's
everybody's
not tear each other up.
It's still so raw, and the kids that were in her class and knew her are still grieving and are still processing it. And so for the community and some people in the community to be spewing rumors and somewhat hate is a little insensitive.
Yeah.
So let's all calm down and just pray for the family and give what we can and, move on.
Yeah.
Or try to move on somewhat. Okay. So we're done.
We're going to do a shout out.
We do have a little shout out. Yeah.
So we were reached out to by another local podcast.
Yes.
Called The Guilty and the Ghostly.
Yes.
And they're kind of they're a husband, wife, and sometimes sisters on the show. Depends on who's available.
Yeah.
Megan and I understand that completely on availability.
Yeah.
But we kind of reached out and made contact, or they reached out to us and made contact. But they're a local East Texas podcast too. I think they're out of the Athens area, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah. And it's like paranormal crime.
Yes, they cover East Texas stuff, but they cover bigger stories as well across the U.S.
Yeah, I think they did a recent one on Ted Bundy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then paranormal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So cool.
So shout out to them. Go give them a follow.
Shout out to The Guilty and the Ghostly.
Yes. We want to support all the East Texas podcasts, no matter what they cover. So it was cool of them to reach out, and we appreciate it. And y'all go give them a little follow and listen to their stuff. So there you go. Okay. I think we're going to get into it. This is going to be a shorter one. I say that.
I'm ready for it. I'm ready to hear it.
So today, if you've clicked on the title, you can see. Oh, and then the iPad decides to update.
It's updating now?
Yeah, right when I'm about to click on it.
You need banter for a minute?
Yeah. What else we were going to talk about something else. Oh, the man out of Shreveport,
Yes.
that we gave a crime file on, I think the last episode, who went to all of those houses and stuff, we found out those were his children
Yes, there were 7 of the 8
that he shot.
were his children. Yeah.
That's craziness.
And the kids weren't as old as what we originally thought. I think we thought they were up to the age of 14. I think the oldest one killed was 11.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, and the mom survived. So she's okay. And I think the other woman is still in critical condition. And then one of his children escaped.
God.
Through a window that got onto the roof. And yeah.
Oh, that poor baby.
Oh, it was horrible.
To witness
Absolutely
something like
horrible.
that from your dad.
I know. And I think they said that the wife wanted a divorce. And I think that's kind of what
set him off.
Sparked his downward spiral.
I'd say that's a downward spiral.
Yeah, my gosh, yeah.
Okay, update's done. Let's go.
Perfect timing.
So, as you can tell by the title that you clicked on today, I am covering the murder of Amanda Anderson. So, the references are the Smith County court records that we got. And then I watched an episode on Lone Star Justice, season 1, episode 1. And then kltv.com is where I got all of my references. So, Chapel Hill is a tiny suburb of Tyler, Texas, a normally very quiet area filled with growing families and avid church members. But on the night of September 15th, 2010, a very shocking and heartbreaking murder occurred. At around 7:30 p.m., 911 dispatchers receive a call stating that a girl had been found shot in her home. The person who reported this to 911 was not at the scene, however. They were at a restaurant and were with the father of the teenage girl, who was allegedly the one who had been shot. The person gives the 911 dispatcher the home phone number of where this had occurred. And so then the 911 dispatcher calls that number, where a young man named Nate Anderson picks up the phone crying. He tells the dispatcher that he had been out for a jog when he had came home to see that their door had been kicked in, and he found his sister in her room and she had been shot. As the first responding officers arrive on scene, he was told by the dispatcher that they were still on the phone. So the arriving officer gets there, and the dispatcher tells that officer that they're still on the phone with Nate, who's inside the house. And the 911 dispatcher tells Nate to go outside and meet the officer that just arrived.
Do we know how old Nate and Amanda are?
Nate is 15, and we'll come to find out Amanda is 19.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
As the arriving officer gets out of his patrol vehicle, he observes Nate running out of his house with a cordless house phone and fall onto the sidewalk, like crying. The deputy then helps Nate to his patrol car and puts him in the back seat, telling Nate to stay right there and so he could go in and clear the rest of the house. Because at this point, all they know is that she's been shot, and Nate just had gotten home and found her.
Wow.
So they want to go in and make sure the shooter's not still in there. The deputy then goes into the residence and begins clearing it, and he comes across a bedroom with a female victim. He observes a young female victim lying face up on the floor beside her bed. The victim's head was at the foot of the bed, and her feet were facing the head of the bed. He also stated that she was fully clothed. There was a pool of blood on the comforter of the bed. She also had dried blood on her upper thigh area, as well as blood coming from the right eye area. He also reports that her body was still warm. At this point, Nate then re-enters the home and drops to the floor crying behind the officer. And then the officer escorts him back out to his patrol car, where he then waits with Nate until the other officers can arrive to clear the scene and get EMS there. While waiting for backup, the officer learns the victim is Nate's 19-year-old sister, Amanda Anderson. Nate then tells the officer that he had went for a jog and on some trails behind their house and was only gone for about 10 to 15 minutes when he re-entered the home and found the garage door leading into the house had been kicked in. And he went to his sister's room, and that's when he found Amanda. And he said she was shot in the head. Nate states he called his dad first and then called 911.
Which is odd, isn't it?
So, and you have to, okay, we'll get into it. But
Okay.
he tells this officer that he called his dad first and then he called 911. Other officers and EMS arrive and then enter the home. The first arriving officers report to them where to locate the victim, and that also he hadn't been able to clear the house yet because he had to stay with Nate. Officers begin to clear the scene, and then Mark Anderson arrives, which is the father, and is pleading with officers to let him see his daughter. But obviously, this was now a crime scene, and they couldn't allow that to happen. They escort Mark back out and begin putting the crime scene tape up to secure the residence. When other deputies are inside the home clearing the house, one of them observe a cell phone laying beside Amanda on the floor. He also saw an open laptop on the nightstand next to the bed. Also, while clearing the house, they note that the door leading into the garage had shoe prints on it, like it had been kicked open. The door jamb was broken and the door frame was separated from the wall in different places, so it had been kicked in. Officers tried to ask Nate more questions, but he wasn't able to answer them. He was very emotional. So they then questioned Mark Anderson, and Mark tells them that Amanda had no enemies. She went to school, she went to work, and she went to church, and that was it. He says that she had not even had a boyfriend in a year or so. Mark then tells officers that he had just called Amanda on the house phone at 7:03 p.m. to remind her to go pick up her mother from work. So they only had 2 vehicles. Mark was, oh no.
Nope.
Hello.
Don't cross these lines, Patchy.
Poor Apache really likes to
Go lay down.
be a part of the pod.
Sorry. Go lay down.
He's like, oh, bless
Sorry,
you.
buddy.
Go to your bed, old man.
Thank you.
So the Andersons only had 2 vehicles, and Mark was out to dinner with a coworker that night. And their mother was still at work, and she worked at a local at the local hospital. I believe it was Trinity Mother Francis is where she worked. And so their mother was about to get off work, and so Mark, the father, calls the house phone. And Amanda picks up, and Mark tells Amanda, this is at 7:03 p.m. Don't forget to go pick up your mom from work. And then at 7:16 p.m. is when Nate calls Mark from that same house phone telling him Amanda had been shot.
13 minutes later?
Yeah.
13 minutes later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
While all of this is going on, EMS had evaluated Amanda and had advised that she was deceased. Everyone then exits the home and secure the scene until investigators can arrive. Per protocol, Nathan's clothes that he was currently wearing at the time were taken into evidence. Investigators arrive on scene and begin to process the house. Every piece of furniture from Amanda's bedroom was taken for evidence.
Wow.
Literally everything in her room.
Well, I'm sure blood splatter was everywhere.
Yes. The house had not appeared to be ransacked, and this was confirmed with the father that nothing had been taken from the house. So he did a
An
walkthrough.
attack on Amanda.
Yeah. They also collected all of the guns that were within the home to be processed as well. As investigators started to fan out to question the neighbors, they started hearing reports of a lot of recent break-ins within the community. They began to fear that this might have either been a break-in gone wrong or gang related, because there was actually a lot of break-ins, and then there was a lot of gang activity that had just recently started happening in Chapel Hill, and the gangs were tagging with spray paint different things. And so in the documentary, it showed like if they would break into places or do something, they would tag or something close to it, like a tree or a sign or something.
Okay.
So that had been happening a lot recently there in Chapel Hill. Some jail informants were interviewed, but they could not report anything. So the investigators go to the jail to see if any of the snitches want to snitch, but they don't know anything. They don't have anything to offer. Everybody reports that they were a very Christian family, heavily involved in their church, and that Amanda had no known enemies and seemed to be a very well-rounded 19-year-old female. The mother was actually interviewed, Stacy Anderson, and she reported that Amanda had a very small circle of friends and was in her 3rd semester at TJC. She also stated that Amanda worked part-time as a secretary at the same hospital, Trinity Mother Frances. When her friends were interviewed, they had reported that no one had it out for Amanda and that she was extremely well liked at school and work and at college. I put at school and work and college. Well, yeah. Sorry. I think I meant to put at church, work, and college.
Was she liked at school and college?
Yes. She was liked at school and college. Everyone to really hone that in, really nail that down. Cool. One of her friends did report that there was a peeping Tom around the college.
Gross.
We can't stand a peeping Tom.
Just disgusting.
But when they went to confirm this with campus police, they had no reports of a peeping Tom. So I'm not sure.
Okay.
Law enforcement then offers up an $1,000 reward for any information that leads to the arrest. Leads start to pour in, but unfortunately, they all were dead ends. On September 17th, Detective Joe Rasco went to the medical examiner's office where they report that Amanda had been shot 4 times in the head, execution style.
Oh my God.
4 times, close range in the head.
Wow.
The bullets belonged to a .22 caliber handgun. There was no evidence to indicate that Amanda was moving when she was shot. So this told investigators that she had to have known her shooter. And they kind of go into it, and this Joe Rasco is interviewed in this documentary, and I read his reports. When you have somebody, a stranger, walk into your bedroom, your automatic response would be to stand up, or she throws something at them, or move, or get off the bed, or whatever. From everything that the evidence is pointing to, she was sitting on her bed completely still and never moved.
Okay, so she was sitting. I was trying to picture where she was because you said her head, she was lying on the floor face up, and her head was at the foot of the bed on the floor.
Yes.
So it was like, I thought that maybe she was shot from behind and fell backward.
No, so she was actually, evidence showed, and like the blood evidence showed, yes, that she had been sitting on her bed when she was shot.
Wow.
And then she obviously like leaned forward and kind of rolled
and
off of her bed.
Okay.
That's how they think it happened.
God.
Heartbreaking. But so her being shot that close, execution style 4 times, and having no evidence that she even moved, really pointed to like she knew who it was. She knew for them to get that close to her, for her to remain sitting in the same position.
Yeah, her guard was down.
Yes. And then you also have to think the door was kicked in.
Right.
So if she was in her room on her bed and she heard the door being kicked in, you're not just going to be sitting on your bed.
Right.
So there's that. Okay, so which indicated to investigators that she knew her shooter. So this eliminated the gang-related theories and stranger-related robberies. So that all went out the window. A week after the murder, they decide to go back to square one and reevaluate the 911 calls. In the call, Nate states that, quote, "There was not just one. I think there was a couple in her head," end quote. This threw a red flag because initially Nate stated he didn't step foot inside Amanda's room. And from the way her body was positioned, he would have not been able to tell that she was even shot. So this was something I watched the 30-minute interview of Nate. And in that 30-minute interview, they asked him a couple of times, did you go into the bedroom? Amanda's bedroom. Did you go in there? Did you lean over her? Did you look at her? Did you touch her? And he's like, no. I opened the door. I saw her body. I ran back to the kitchen to get the house phone. I didn't step foot inside her room.
Okay, that's an odd move to me that you're not going to run to your sibling's aid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But even more weird is one of the investigators in the interview with Nate questions him and says, why would you think that she was shot though? because how Amanda was positioned, and I saw the crime scene photos, which were horrendous.
Ooh.
Yeah. Her body was positioned by her bed and her head is tilted towards her bed, and the door, her head is facing away from the door, is turned this way. So you wouldn't be able to, you could see that there was blood, and you could see, that something bad had happened, but you wouldn't really know that she had been shot.
Okay.
So the officer asks Nate in the interview, why were you saying she'd been shot? And because he said, why didn't you think she had just been beat up? Like, because you wouldn't have known. And Nate said, well, I smelled gunpowder. I smelled the gunpowder. And so I knew she had been shot. And then the officer was like, well, why did you say 4 times? Why did you say on the 911 call that she had been shot 4 times? How do you know that? And he was like, I don't remember. I don't think I said that. And he's 15. He's 15. So
it's not looking good, Nate.
Yeah, that was a very big red flag for them. So in the interview that I watched, Nate was very shaky. He's fidgeting with his hands constantly. And there's an absolutely no emotion when he's speaking about his sister or the events of that night. It's so eerie to watch. Because initially when I'm watching it, I'm not really, and it's a video interview. And when you're watching it, you're like looking at this 15-year-old boy, like this typical little 15-year-old boy, and he's just talking to them. And then I started really thinking in my head, like, if he wasn't guilty and he had found his sister, I was trying to put my brothers in this situation. Mm-hmm. They would be heartbroken and they would be scared and they would be, even talking about it, they would probably cry and they would, it'd just be real emotional for them.
Yeah.
And Nate shows no emotion. And then I really started honing in on his eyes, and his eyes are constantly moving. He couldn't keep his eyes on one thing.
So the only emotion we saw was the big dramatic.
Yes.
At the scene when they first got there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it was really eerie to watch. At one point, one of the detectives asked Nate how he was able to tell. Oh, we already kind of went over that. I jumped ahead of myself, I guess. So towards the end of the interview, Nate asks if they have any leads or evidence.
He asks?
He asks the
Okay,
detectives
we love
that.
to stay close, don't we?
The detective tells him that they do have some evidence, and you can tell in the interview that scared look that comes across Nate's face.
Well, they have his clothes.
It was so weird because they're like getting ready to wrap up the interview, and Nate's like, well, do y'all have any evidence or like leads on who did this? And the detective's like, oh yeah, I mean, we have evidence. We're just processing it. And Nate's face just kind of goes blank, like, oh shit. All of the guns at the Anderson home were evaluated and ruled out because or besides a 22 caliber Ruger semi-automatic handgun.
Was it missing or they had it?
It was in there.
Oh, no, they had it.
They had it. Mm-hmm. Okay. They also confirmed that the 22 caliber bullets found in Amanda were a match to the other 22 bullets found within the home. This told them that it had to be a member of the family. Obviously, the mother and father were not home at the time. So their whole focus shifts to Nate. When law enforcement fans out and searches the woods and the backyard of the home, they find... Sorry. I had to burp. They find 22 caliber shell casings, and when the father was interviewed, he told investigators that Nate would go out shooting in the woods behind their house all the time. At the Texas DPS crime lab in Tyler, authorities examined Nate's clothing that he had on that night of the murder. To the naked eye, they were considered unremarkable. They decide to test Nate's clothing using Blue Star, and Blue Star is a forensic testing that is a real sensitive chemical that reacts to like blood that's either been cleaned up or is super microscopic small that we can't see. So their focus when they were testing with Blue Star was something called high velocity blood splatter. Within the documentary I watched, the criminologist Noel Martin explains that high velocity splatter is what happens, say like if you spray Windex and you have the big spray, but then you have that mist that comes out. That's what they consider high velocity splatter.
Oh, that's like eerie.
Mist.
That's eerie to think about, like a blood mist. I don't like that.
No. So very tiny splatter particles is what they're looking for. So when they performed this testing, Nate's clothes showed the splatter all over his shirt, pants, and even his shoes.
Oh, Nate.
Yeah. And I saw the pictures of that as well, of the clothes, of the testing and stuff. And yeah. With this new evidence, a warrant is issued and Nate was actually arrested at their local church.
Oh, they picked him up at the Lord's house.
They did. And in the reports that I read, they go to the church and walk in. And one of the investigators is like, where's Nate? Or the pastor comes up to them. And they're like, where's Nate Anderson? And he says, he's in the fellowship hall. And the pastor goes in there, gets Nate, and brings him out to the cops to escort him out. Yeah. And it's so weird to watch that footage of him being arrested, because I watched that footage too. And he's just a 15-year-old boy in handcuffs. It's so
hard to wrap your brain
eerie.
around.
Yes. It's so, Nate is arrested in October of 2010. Initially, Nate was held in juvenile custody, but in June 2011, a judge ruled that he would be tried as an adult due to the nature of the crime. On February 2nd, 2012, Nate pleads guilty to first-degree murder. Under the plea deal, he was sentenced to 20 years in state prison. Also, a part of the plea deal was that Nate had to tell his parents what happened. And in a statement, Mark Anderson told reporters at KLTV, quote, he told me that he took her life by shooting her with a pistol that was in our home, and he asked for forgiveness, and I have forgiven him, end quote. Stacey Anderson, the mother, said, quote, as a mother who loves both of her children, this has been the most difficult ordeal I have ever experienced, end quote. As far as motive is concerned, Nate's attorneys only said one thing. They put out a statement saying, quote, I'm not going to go into specific conversations I've had with Nate or anyone on our team, but we know what happened and I'm going to leave it at that, end quote.
So we don't know what motivated him?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
I know.
Frustrating.
So frustrating. I do have a little bit of, I didn't write this in the script for this episode, but I'm going to say something here in a minute.
Okay.
As of April 2026, when I checked, Nate is no longer listed in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, which typically means that he has been released.
Really?
Yes. So this is what I was going to mention. And I confirmed this. Well, so in the documentary I watched, they say in the documentary that they found Nate's notebook from his homework and that they found a lot of very dark things in the notebook, like extremely dark. And so in the records, it doesn't really mention anything about a notebook, but it does. They went through his text messages and some other things, like, because he had just gotten a phone, like his own cell phone. And so some of the text messages and images that he was sending to friends or having on his phone was supposedly very gruesome and dark, disturbing, and vulgar. Yeah. For a 15-year-old boy to have. And then I think at one point in the records, it talked about drawings, like he would draw things. That was very alarming. And so maybe that's what they meant by the notebook that they found. But
so maybe he had nothing against Amanda at all. He was just looking to target someone and she was easy.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what they think happened, they know that Nate was in the home and he was supposedly doing his homework. And he was sitting either in the kitchen or in his room. And Amanda was in her bedroom, either doing homework for college or whatever. And for whatever reason, he gets up and gets a gun and walks in her room and shoots her 4 times in the head. And everybody kind of, within the reports and the documentary, nothing was leading up to this other than Nate's behind the scenes weird stuff that he was going through.
So he like didn't have a poor relationship with his sister.
No. And like when the mother was interviewed, she would say, you know, they had a very typical brother-sister relationship. Like, yeah, they argued and fought, but what sibling doesn't?
Correct.
She said, but it never got like out of hand or anything or.
Right.
Yeah. So just wild.
I just can't imagine. You know, that's really sad that their parents lost both their children that day.
Yeah, absolutely. That's another thing. They lost both of their children.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing I wanted to mention too is that they did, within one of the reports, I couldn't find the actual report, but they did do a psych evaluation on him. And I would be so interested. I scoured those records and they were not included. I don't know if they were redacted or not. But
well, if he was released, then they feel he's safe to be back in society.
I guess.
And, you know, prison or jail is supposed to be like a rehab, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah. So
not everybody can be fixed, unfortunately.
Yeah.
If Nate is out there, I hope he's doing well and I hope he feels remorse and that he's turned his life around.
Yeah.
If he is out and about.
Yeah.
So,
but such a wild story.
Wow, you don't think you have to watch out for your siblings, huh?
I know, right?
Like I would have never flinched at all.
Yeah.
Like one of my brother or my sisters walked into my room.
And it's just so heartbreaking because I actually saw the crime scene photos and just her bedroom, like she had a zebra comforter.
Oh my God. Zebra was the thing in 2010.
Yes. And so she just, was there and she was beautiful. We'll post a picture of her. And she was I think she was just one of those really well-rounded girls and had a lot going for her. And maybe, Nate got real jealous of that. I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know.
Well, thanks for that, Megan.
You're so welcome.
Okay.
It's sunny again. Look up there.
Yay.
Yeah. 1 minute it's dreary. The next it's sunny.
Yeah.
So, okay, guys. Well, rate and review.
Mm-hmm. Like, subscribe, and share.
Mm-hmm. If you have a tale of your own or just want to say, hey, what's up? Email us at inlawsincrime@gmail.com.
Yes.
And keep your roots deep.
And your head on a swivel.
Bye.